Hey everyone, Nick from Nick's Crossing here. Welcome back to the train room. And guys, more importantly, welcome back to the workbench. And guys, in this video, I wanted to make something sort of like my own super bass. And this will all be wirelessly controlled, utilizing these little boards right here. So anyways, guys, let's get into this. Here we go. Let's make this super bass. All aboard. Alrighty guys, so for the longest time, I've always wanted to have sounds in all of my dummy units on the railroad, but just couldn't really figure it out. I'm like, you know what, how would I transfer sounds? And a lot of you guys out there, a lot of friends of mine are like, why don't you just put wires from the power unit to another dummy unit so you don't have to worry about all kinds of other stuff. I'm like, well, you know what, that's not fun. This has to be complicated and fun. So having all those wires too, I know you can make them look like MU cables, brake lines and all of that, but they're also subject to breaking and also having something to uncouple each time. It's just kind of annoying. It's like a lot of my upgrades up here are just straight tethered through, so it's just one big piece. You don't have to worry about that gooseneck tether breaking on you. So this is going to run into that concept of thinking out of the box. So what I was doing on the internet was looking for a way to transmit Bluetooth and also have a receiver. Well, last week, guys, I started this tutorial, and it was just a nightmare. This little Bluetooth transmitter board right here was super noisy, and it just was not efficient for what I needed. It was getting 60 hertz hum, but the good thing is, guys, it worked. It actually worked. I got sound between my power unit and the new dummy unit or whatever, and I was like, you know what? This concept is still alive. I can do this. And I know the big box guys out there, the orange box guys have been doing this for a while, but I'm not exactly sure of their wizardry and circuitry, but I believe that has something to do with Bluetooth. So I was thinking on the internet, like, what uses Bluetooth to transfer sound all the time with a receiver? And I thought back to my rock and roll days, guys. That's why I got the long hair right here. And I was thinking, you know what? My guitar player in my band used one of these right here, and also another one to go between his guitar and his amplifier to basically run around the stage like a nut and, you know, get the crowd going. And I thought about it. It's like, you know what? If I can take the technology that's located in these wireless transmitters for a guitarist or a bass player or any type of other musical instrument, I could get sounds to go from the power unit to a dummy unit wirelessly utilizing Bluetooth. And even better, guys, if one transmitter can transmit to multiple receivers, this is going to be pretty crazy. So that's what we'll be doing here, guys. We'll be taking these apart, taking out the guts of these transmitters and receivers to create my own super bass in a way, my own powered speaker unit. Let's just get away from super bass. I don't want to get in trouble, but this is going to be a fun tutorial. And if it works, guys, this is going to be pretty awesome. So let's get you guys on the bench and show you what we're working with here. Alrighty, guys, so here is the mothership. This is our powered GP9 upgraded Proto 3 boarded locomotive. So really quick, guys, we'll be concentrating on these wires right here. Now, please do not get confused right now. I am totally aware that I have a yellow wire soldered to a white wire and a yellow wire soldered to a white wire. Now, in the upgrade kits, MTH gives you a socketed connection, and in that socket, it reverses the color wires. Now, if you look at the wiring diagram on the MTH manual, it says to hook up the white speaker wire to positive, your yellow to negative. Now, what comes off the motherboard, these are your motherboard wires over here. This is the exact opposite. So please do not get confused. Off the motherboard, your yellow wire is positive and your white wire is negative. Like I said, there would be a quick connect, very similar to this right here. And you would socket this connection so you don't have to worry about soldering. It's just a quick connect. So don't get confused, please. Now, this potentiometer is something my dad and I thought of using this as a, he called it a split or some type of splice to basically take the signal, and we would be able to control the power output to these wires right here. These are polarized, so red is positive, black is negative. These wires right here will go to our transmitter board. I'm going to leave this potentiometer in line right here with our wires in case it is just too much signal and we're getting distortion through our transmitter board. Now the transmitter board, guys, let me zoom out here, is already taken apart, and that board is right here. This is what came out of this fake, carbon shell or whatever, carbon fiber thing. It's plastic. This is what came out of there. Now, originally, guys, there was a battery right here, right where this T is, similar to the receiver board, has big old battery on the back. I tore the battery off of the transmitter board because I wanted to see if this could run by itself without the battery. Now, before I was doing the Hobo Sounds cars with Bluetooth, so you can run music off your phone or whatever, create your own playlist. And those boards had to rely on this battery. Now, this is a 3.7 volt battery, so I dialed our little power board down here that's already hooked up to our locomotive's AC input to the motherboard. This is dialed at 3.7 volts. And guys, we had the blue light on here. It was transmitting. So we're going to leave that. We're not going to mess with that. We're actually going to take the battery off of our receiver board when it's time to. So first, I want to hook up our transmitter. Now, when you first open up these cases right here, they just use a very small Phillips screwdriver. It's 4 screws. Then on the inside, there are 2 screws that hold the board down. Just take those up. This piece up here, you'll see 2 wires coming out of it. And I glued it just for show. But one side, you'll have the black wire, and one side, you'll have the red. These are your sound input wires. Now, normally these would go to your guitar or instrument input, and these create a line level voltage through the Bluetooth board to receive signal from your guitar, guitar's pickups or bass, whatever. And what I thought about, guys, was that some guitars use something called an active input or active pickups, and that is usually a 9 volt voltage that powers up your pickups, so you get a much hotter signal. So I'm kind of hoping that these transmitter boards are used to a very high signal compared to the other little Bluetooth transmitter was probably just getting overloaded or something. So that's what you get. So these are the wires that went to that 1/8 inch jack. So positive red, negative black. So what we're going to do is actually hook these up to our transmitter wires off of the speaker wires here. All right, guys, so our signal wires are now hooked up, and here is the Bluetooth board right here. So now we need power. So these are our power leads. At the end, they're very hard to see, extremely small. And like I said, these were hooked up to our battery before. So back here, I have our rectifier board that will eventually get glued inside the shell. The shell of the MTH unit is plastic, so it's insulated and everything. That's why I gave enough wire. So if we have to open this up, this board will slide in here away from the motor, and it'll just sit in there like that, so it's not touching anything. So we need to run 2 of our DC wires over from this board here all the way to our leads on the Bluetooth board. All right, guys, so our Bluetooth transmitter board is now hooked up to our locomotive. So before I mount this in place, I'd like to make sure the on switch is on. There's an indication on here, so there's off and on. And I'm going to mount this to the back of the plastic of the motor housing. So this motor housing here is to make it look like that there's a locomotive cab. So when you look through the GP9 unit or GP7, you're not going to see this motor spinning with the tack strip and all that. So it's kind of like a facade. And there's also holes in here to put like lights and such. So we're going to mount this with the Bluetooth receiver. This is the little Bluetooth antenna. Got these little wavy lines right here. I have another Bluetooth board right here that has it. These little wavy lines, that is your antenna for this. We're going to mount those facing up, and we're just going to hot glue this in place right behind there. And also I need to make sure I run all my wires so they're not in this channel right here where the frame will actually clamp down on that very narrow corridor for a locomotive. All right, so the board is glued to our shrouding here. Then I need to make sure to run all my wires around this motor, and I also did a little bit of glue on the contacts right here, so the wires can't pull out and short out. And we'll run our other set of wires through and run those through to the back where the power board is. Then after that, this unit is done. We can test it, but we will not hear any sounds until we hook up our amplifier circuit and also the speaker to our receiver. But right now, feeling pretty good about this, guys. It's going to be pretty sweet. And we're going to have to leave this open anyways because we're going to have to adjust our output signal potentially using the little potentiometer. And here are our wires back here. We're going to make sure that we can, if we put the board inside the shell so we can access it, so give us a little bit of slack here. All right, guys, so here is the dummy frame. And dummy right now, I'm just saying that because there's no motors in here, no board powering the locomotive, so it can run on its own. It's completely slaved to the motherboard of this locomotive. So if this unit's not on, we're probably not going to get any sound going to this unit here. We're going to open up all these screw terminals to the max. They do have little stops on them, so the screws do not come flying out, which is great. And these boards are extremely inexpensive on the Amazon, so make sure to check them out. Hook up our power leads here. I like testing these around 10 volts, 12 volts. The minimum operating range, I think, is like 4 volts for these. I'm not sure what max output you're going to get, but just be careful. And there's also very large capacitors on here, so if you touch these contacts while this is energized, you will get a little bit of a shock. It's not enough to really hurt, but it might get a little bit of a burn feeling, so I recommend not to do that. It's not very comfortable. So here's my little buddy, my little voltmeter, and we're going to turn this one on, and we're going to give our board power. The cool thing is, guys, with these cheap power boards is that they give you a light indication when the board's getting power. So power this up to about 8 volts, 12 volts here. You can see the little red LED at the bottom there. That's on, so you're getting power. We're going to hook up our voltmeter leads here. There's wires everywhere. All right, so the first lead, guys, the first little port on here is positive. Second one's a negative. Hold those together. Right now we're getting a solid 3.89 volts. On our output side, we're going to use this little screwdriver here and twist it to the right to lower voltage. And I'm going to watch our voltage drop on the right there. We want 3.7 on the dot. Look at that, 3.7. And what I do, guys, so these potentiometers do not shift around or whatever. I'm going to de-energize our board. I'm going to use a little dab of hot glue. And you can see that light still lit. It's turning off now. So these are great constant voltage boards if you guys want to use these for passenger car lighting, because that LED will indicate your power and it takes a while for it to turn off. So if you have dirty track or a little gap in electric, your lights will still stay lit for about 5 seconds or so. But what I do to lock this potentiometer down, use a little dab of hot glue to lock that down so our voltage shift will be minimum. And I'll do the same thing over here on our engine. Forgot to do that earlier. There we go. And I've done that in a lot of pieces, especially low voltage, like 5 volt, just so it tries to hold the potentiometer at that voltage. So anyways, let's get started here. Turn off our voltmeter. Get this out of here. All right, so here is our receiver board. Here's the exciting part. We're going to take this battery off. Now first, use a hot glue gun on the existing hot glue to try to dislodge it so you don't crack your board. These boards have very small components, guys, and I've cracked boards before. You just hear a little pink and then it's done. A little ping ping. And it's completely fried. You break the contacts and this will just free up the glue a little bit. Then use a flat blade. It should be able to pry this out without puncturing the battery too. You don't want to do that either. All right, there we go. There we go. All right, so then we get these leads on here. And you gotta be careful, guys. This is a rechargeable battery. So you're really not supposed to throw these away. You're supposed to dispose of them respectfully. So I'm going to cut these leads one at a time. You don't want to cut them both at the same time because if it shorts, it could blow up your battery here. So we'll do one lead at a time at different distances so they can't short. So as you can see, our battery leads are at 2 different distances. Stick that back here. Those can't touch. And that is also a 3.7 volt battery just to make sure. And here's our board. That's it. So same as before, here's our power leads. Here are our sending leads or line level leads that will go to the amplifier board, which is actually right here. So the amplifier requires a couple things. It's going to need an input voltage. So we'll be using our power board we just calibrated. This will be at 3.7 volts instead of 5 volts. It should be okay. Not worried about it. So you also get 2 outputs, right out and left output, because this is a stereo amplifier. Power in, and then your inputs, left, ground, and right. So what we're going to do, I'm actually going to extend all of these leads off of this board off camera just to make them longer so we can work on stuff. And then we'll get all of our boards soldered. Then for the bottoms of these, I like to use 3M tape, the sticky tape stuff, and hot glue. So everything's mounted and nice and quiet in the frame so it can't ground out or short. The other option, guys, is to just glue stuff inside your shell, because your shell is plastic. You get all this room in here. So that's another option. I might do that with the speaker, then leave our other pieces on our frame, especially the potentiometer for our amplifier. It should be accessible. So I could use, one of these holes back here above our wheel. Usually, they used to have a hole for potentiometers in the frame, but this looks like it's a later dummy unit. Looks like it may have had PS2 because of the different holes for pots, not so much, but we can work all this out. So we get these leads extended. We'll be right back. Alrighty, guys, so everything is wired up, and I made all the wire extensions that we need. So basically, we have all of our inputs and outputs labeled on all these components on the back of them. Even this one says like ground, and you also have your left and right. So we're using the right side of this little power amplifier here. Actually zoom out a little bit better. There we go. So everything's grouped. So it has power in, outputs out. It says input, and the input is coming from our Bluetooth board of the Bluetooth board output. So outputs to inputs. Always remember that with audio. And these wires here are going to our power. Everything's just nicely organized and, wire tied together, zip tied together. Here's our power board. So we have 4 leads coming out of the DC side, nothing in the AC side yet. And those will be for our power leads from our locomotive down here. But I wanted to do a test first before we do all of that. So let's hook all this up to power and see if this unit here will transmit to our dummy unit here. I got everything hooked up. I've got 2 power boards just kind of strung together. So they're getting AC from my transformer. It's kind of complicated, but it's the same exact wiring we saw before. And I was also getting a power drop. So every time the horn would blow, I think it was just vibrating the wires apart out of the power board. So that's why I have it set up separately. But we do get that AC hum of 60 hertz. I'm wondering if that's the transformer creating that noise. May just be a dirty signal. So I'm going to get this all buttoned up in just a second. But we're going to try this out on our track with DCS once everything's buttoned up. So really quick, this is what it sounds like. And the AC hum is pretty bad. So check this out. Once our engine starts up, it sort of calms down a little bit. See the speaker actually moving. So guys, this is the horn with just the MTH speaker. Then here is with our volume turned up over here, the bass. guys, normally you would be hearing the startup sequence and everything through here, but because the power's gone through the board, one thing I could have done, I could have left the battery in the receiver end, so you get the shutdown sounds if you're running conventionally, but I normally do not run conventionally, so this should have all the shutdown startup sounds while running in DCS. But I will say, if you're running conventionally, you want to try this for yourself, I would recommend leaving the battery in the receiver end, so during the shutdown sequence, you'll still get battery. You'll just have to leave the button on the on position, so it would charge while your train is on the track. You'd have to use the this input here for USB, so your board would charge while it's on the track, but you'd also get the shutdown sounds if you're running conventionally. Right now, I'm not running conventionally, so that's not going to really affect me, but I am curious to see if I'm still going to get those AC interference sounds while everything's buttoned up. So let me do that really quick. Let's get this all situated here and get her on the track. Alrighty guys, so here is everything inside of our shell. The power board is shoved down there. Here's our speaker module on the side. Tried to get as many wires away from it as I could to prevent like buzzing and all that. We'll see what happens. I have 2 auxiliary wires that were just thrown in here. I'm going to have to cut these a little bit shorter so they don't short out anything. These were intended for lights. I have another red one in here somewhere coming off the power board. There they are right here. And I thought about putting in marker lights. We'll see how this sounds and everything before I do that. But I thought about doing like red marker lights for the rear. So we'll see what happens here. But here is the unit. Here's our power wires go off the truck. And when we sandwich this all together, it's going to be kind of flat like that. So you shouldn't see any wires in the cab. And that's it, guys. So let's get this all buttoned up and throw it on the track with the mothership. Guys, so here is our mothership locomotive. This is the brain of the operation. She's got the power board, the motors, all that fun stuff. Smoke unit that's been newly modified. And this unit sounds great by itself. It's a little tinny, a little thin, and I believe it needs the speaker, whatever's holding that speaker in needs to be tightened up because something is rattling in there like crazy right now. But check this out. This is what she sounds like without any help from the bass full range unit. I'm going to call this a full range speaker upgrade. So let's give her some 18 volts. We're getting that little bit of that 60 hertz interference in there, but let's start her up. Here we go. And this is stock MTH GP9 sounds. And she's pretty loud. And here's the shutdown. So not horrible, guys, and you don't really get that 60 hertz interference. Now, once I put our upgraded speaker unit in here, you guys will hear a huge difference in sound. It really fills in the mid and lower end. So let's get that on the track. So I'll move this over and put it right here next to our beautiful GP, I believe it's a GP7 actually, but GP unit. You're going to hear the 60 hertz interference because this unit will now be broadcasting to this unit here. But you're going to hear a very, very full range sound. It sounds amazing. Really put some hair on your chest, actually. It's pretty awesome. So let's go. Let's give her some power. And there's the interference sound that I'm going to work very hard to filter out in a future video, future updates and such. So we'll get to that later. But here we go. Let's fire them up and bring the thunder. And guys, as you can hear, man, this thing has got some guts now. It is a full range booming sound. I love that. So this upgrade right here, just it's a lot of fun, and plus it just adds a lot more depth and sound, and I have full control over the volume. So because this is hooked up to the output circuit of the speaker, when I turn the MTH board down using DCS, this board in our slaved unit will also decrease in power because it's sending out a different line level signal. So I thought that was really cool. I absolutely love it. It's just something really goofy to do. So anyways, guys, let's run this around, play around with some of the revs and sounds and stuff like that. So here we go, guys. All aboard. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for this model railroad modification experiment video. And I'll give it a 90% success because we still got that AC buzz in there. But honestly guys, I'm going to work on that and try to improve it because I'd like to do this with a bunch of other models in my collection. Got lots of B units I could try to put with some Lionel stuff to get powered B units now, or powered sound B units. And that's what I'm going to call this, guys, a powered sound car, because I don't want to get in trouble using the term super bass upgrade. It's really not a super bass, it's more of just a full range upgrade compared to what the MTH locomotive is by itself. And I do think it brings some really cool depth to the hobby, being able to add your own speakers via Bluetooth to other things and such. But anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun doing this, and this has been on my brain for a while to do, and brainstorming all the parts and whatnot. So hopefully you guys really enjoyed this one. It's a very simple upgrade. Just have to take some time and just take things apart. And that's the big thing. Take your time when you're taking these electronics apart and all that. Don't want to fry anything. But anyways, guys, if you're new to the channel and enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like, leave a comment below. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. And until next time, everyone, happy railroading. We'll see you next time. See ya.